fraternity of Blue Ivy. She looks more and more like Kathy to me every day. While they try to do AI pictures to make her look more like Beyonce, taking her face up with all that light makeup to take away the dark, natural brown Brahmin tone that Kathy's skin had. Beautiful skin, long arms, shoulders.
Because from what I was told, Beyonce couldn't even have kids, allegedly.
She can't have kids. Her uterus is trash. But she had to come up with those 3 babies because that's what's in the marriage contract in order for her to get the extra million for each kid.
Comments that they have to really listen between the lines what you're saying, because there's actually a very important message that you're saying without actually saying it.
I always say blatant what I say. I never ever have a code or it's either you hear it or you choose to wanna acknowledge it or you don't. Those are the trollers, bro. Ain't shit I ever said was in between the lines, bro.
About what went down.
Kathy White's life was taken unfairly. She actually died screaming. And the Carters are responsible. But one of them is just a little more responsible than the other.
Orlando Brown is making waves again, and this time he's putting forward claims that are hard to ignore. He's raising serious allegations surrounding the death of Kathy White, a woman described as Jay-Z's alleged pregnant mistress, who some have also claimed could be the biological mother of Blue Ivy. And the question on everyone's mind is, why so few people in Hollywood are willing to openly address any of it? Orlando has spent years pulling back the curtain on what he describes as the hidden side of celebrity culture, the deals made in the dark, the secrets carefully buried beneath polished public images. Now his focus has shifted to the Carters, and at the center of it all is the story of Kathy White. According to these claims, Kathy had arranged to sit down for a tell-all interview with Liz Crokin. She was reportedly prepared to reveal everything she allegedly knew, from the business dealings surrounding Jay-Z and Beyonce to accusations involving people whose lives were said to have been destroyed in their wake, to her own claims of being manipulated into carrying Blue Ivy as part of a surrogacy arrangement. But here's where the story takes a deeply unsettling turn. Just 24 hours before that interview was scheduled to take place, Kathy White was found dead in her apartment. And the circumstances surrounding her death to this day remain questions that haven't been answered to the satisfaction of those who've been following this story closely.
Considering talking to me and telling me her story about her affair with Jay-Z. So a few days go by and I'm following up with her, I'm calling her, and I can't get a hold of her. And I believe that this went on for a few days. And it was just really weird because she always answered her work phone. I thought it was really strange that she was answering her phone. She was MIA. I didn't know what the deal was. So I ended up reaching out to one of her colleagues. And when I finally got hold of one of her colleagues, they told me that she's dead. And I said, what? And she's...
After Kathy's death, Liz Crokin re-entered the conversation with a direct and pointed accusation. She publicly blamed Jay-Z and Beyonce for what happened to Kathy. In one post, she referenced a statement Kanye West had made about Jay-Z, suggesting that when Kanye spoke about Jay-Z having people capable of making someone disappear, she believed Kanye was referring to those responsible for Kathy White's death. She went quiet on the subject for a while until the Diddy situation brought everything back to the surface. That's when Liz came back with a message that left nothing to interpretation. She wrote that she was the reporter who had spoken to Jay-Z's alleged mistress right before she died. She stated that Kathy had, in her words, deleted. She claimed to know everything and closed with a warning that justice was on its way, suggesting that Jay-Z and Diddy might one day find themselves sharing a prison cell. Then she followed up by reposting a clip of Kanye West making his now infamous claim that Jay-Z had people on standby ready to eliminate anyone at a moment's notice. Now, for some background on who Kathy White actually was, she was an American publicist, fitness personality, and beauty expert who passed away in September 2011 at just 29 years old. She was found dead inside her Manhattan apartment, and official reports attributed her cause of death to a brain aneurysm. What makes the timing particularly striking is that the very same year she died, rumors of an alleged affair between Kathy and Jay-Z began circulating widely. Several blogs picked up the story, but it was a piece published by Hollywood Street King that gave it real traction. That article had actually been written back in August 2010, but it only drew significant attention the following year, after Kathy's death. According to those rumors, Kathy and Jay-Z had been spotted at various high-profile events, including Tao nightclub in Las Vegas. The story goes that they first met on the set of one of Jay-Z's music videos, an introduction reportedly made through Kathy's close friend, media personality Claudia Jordan, and that's when the alleged affair began. This was all happening while Jay-Z was with Beyoncé, and the two were reportedly trying to conceive a child without success. And according to what's been circulating in these circles, that's the moment Jay-Z allegedly brought Kathy into the picture, not just as a romantic interest, but as a surrogate for Beyoncé. The story being told is this: Kathy was secretly carrying the child, while Beyoncé maintained a public pregnancy. But before the birth, Beyoncé allegedly discovered that Kathy and Jay-Z had been involved romantically. And on top of that, both Jay-Z and Beyoncé reportedly became aware of the planned interview with Liz Crokin. Now, it's important to be clear, none of this has been confirmed. These are allegations and rumors that have circulated for years, but they've been kept alive in part by industry voices like Jaguar Wright, who has spoken about them openly and without hesitation in multiple interviews.
Think about Claudia Jordan right now. Claudia Jordan don't ever mention my mother name. She mentioned it yesterday. Talking about why people are afraid to come forward. You mean like you? You was Diddy girl. Corey was Jay-Z girl. Why don't you claim your friend? Jay-Z's pregnant mistress, who died of an imaginary fucking aneurysm.
Shortly after Jaguar Wright called out Claudia Jordan for her years of silence surrounding the details of Kathy's death, Claudia suddenly decided to speak up for the first time since Kathy passed in 2011. And for many people watching, that timing said everything. She had stayed completely quiet for over a decade. No statements, no clarifications, nothing. But the moment Jaguar publicly put her name in the conversation, Claudia found her voice. Many people believe she didn't come forward on her own terms. They suspect she received a call from Jay-Z and Beyoncé's camp, urging her to get out in front of the story and make Jaguar look like she was fabricating everything. In her response, Claudia pushed back firmly. She said she was tired of the story being told the way it had been. According to her, Kathy had visited her home several times during the months they spent time together in 2010, and she was never pregnant during any of those visits. She described drinking together, gambling in Vegas, playing craps, no Jay-Z in sight. She mentioned attending an amusement park with Kathy and a boyfriend who was not Jay-Z, and she insisted Kathy never said a single word to her about any romantic involvement with him. She closed by demanding her name be kept out of it entirely. But even as Claudia tried to shut the conversation down, something else was keeping it wide open. Back in 2011, right around the same time these rumors were circulating and Kathy had just died, Beyoncé found herself at the center of a moment that made things significantly worse for her public image. During a television interview in Australia, her baby bump appeared to visibly fold and collapse as she sat down on camera. That moment spread rapidly, and it pushed a lot of people from casual skepticism straight into firm belief that Beyoncé had been using a surrogate all along. Then came the hospital situation, which added another layer that people found impossible to ignore. Reports emerged that Beyoncé had allegedly paid over $1.3 million to secure an entire floor of the hospital where she was supposedly giving birth. The question people couldn't get past was simple. Why would anyone need an entire floor to themselves unless there was something they didn't want anyone to see? What made it worse was that other women had given birth at that hospital on the same day. Those mothers were reportedly moved to different areas of the building, but their newborns, including babies in intensive care, were kept on the floor Beyoncé had allegedly paid to take over. One father, a contractor from Bed-Stuy, went on record about the experience. He said his wife had just delivered twins via C-section. She was in pain, and the disruption caused by the situation was completely unacceptable. He acknowledged the money that was reportedly spent, but made clear that it didn't justify how his family was treated. And then Orlando Brown stepped into the middle of all of it. He made a claim that stopped people in their tracks, stating that the reason he was still alive is because Jay-Z and Beyoncé had chosen to let him live. He went further, making remarks about their alleged ability to, in his words, switch your soul out of your vessel. Strange as it sounds, some people drew a direct line between what Orlando said and the story of Kathy White. The theory being that Orlando is allowed to keep talking precisely because nobody takes him seriously. His credibility has been undermined to the point where his claims don't land as a real threat. Kathy, on the other hand, was a credible professional with first-hand knowledge, a scheduled interview, and every intention of going public. That, according to those who believe this narrative, is what made her situation entirely different. A lot of people dismissed what Orlando was saying as the ramblings of someone who had lost touch with reality. But when you start digging into his actual history and the people he was connected to, the picture becomes a lot more complicated. It turns out that Jay-Z has long been rumored to have allegedly played a role in the death of one of Orlando's most significant mentors in the music industry. So if there's anyone who would have a personal reason to believe just how far Jay-Z's reach could extend, it would be someone who was close to that situation firsthand. Those who remember the mid-2000s rap landscape will recall that Jay-Z and Pimp C had a deeply contentious falling out, and for years, a segment of people in the industry have quietly speculated that Jay may have had some connection to what happened to Pimp C. Pimp C passed away on December 4, 2007, at just 33 years old. He was found unresponsive in his hotel room at the Mondrian Hotel on Sunset Strip in West Hollywood. The initial autopsy identified promethazine and codeine as contributing factors, along with other undetermined causes. 2 months after his death, the Los Angeles County Coroner's Office ruled it an accidental overdose. But around that same time, word began to spread that Pimp C had been in possession of a secret recording, footage allegedly capturing a well-known female R&B artist in a deeply compromising situation with another rapper, and the name that kept coming up in connection to that tape was Beyoncé. According to those who claimed to have knowledge of it, Pimp C had access to studio footage he had captured privately, and he had been considering what to do with it. The tape was never released, and Pimp C was dead before anything came of it. One source described it bluntly, saying that whoever had that footage and tried to move on it would have had to be dealt with, because the people involved had more than enough resources to make sure it never surfaced. People familiar with the Houston scene at the time have said it was not difficult to piece together who was involved, based on who was known to be around and who had the kind of money and access that matched the description. What made the story even darker were the details surrounding how Pimp C was reportedly found. According to DJ Paul of 3-6 Mafia, Pimp's manager described the body as being positioned that suggested something far more deliberate than an accidental overdose, with markings that pointed to a blow to the head, the claim being that someone staged the scene afterwards to make it look like something it wasn't. There was already existing tension between Pimp C and Jay-Z that predated all of this. Record executive Greg Taylor recalled that shortly after the deal was struck for Jay-Z and UTG to collaborate on Big Pimpin', he called Pimp C to discuss it. The call was on speaker, but Pimp didn't know it, and he used the opportunity to speak freely and disparagingly about Jay-Z. So where does Orlando fit into all of this? Directly. Orlando has stated that he spent approximately 5 to 6 years alongside Pimp C before his death, having been introduced to him through a friend's mother who had connections to UTG. Orlando didn't mince words about what he believes happened. He alleged outright that Pimp C's death was not an accident, claiming that someone took him out and then planted substances at the scene to make it appear as though he had simply overdosed. When Orlando was asked directly whether he had ever witnessed Pimp C using drugs heavily, given that lean had become closely associated with his public image, his answer was telling. He said he never saw that side of him, not once. He described Pimp C, whose real name was Chad Butler, as someone who, around him at least, maybe had a cup of red wine on a couple of occasions. That was it. And then he said something that made people pay very close attention. He stated plainly that everything found at the scene had been planted, that the substances discovered weren't consistent with who Pimp C actually was behind closed doors, regardless of what he rapped about publicly. He stopped short of naming exactly who he believed was responsible, whether it was law enforcement, management, or someone entirely else, saying only that out of respect for the family and out of respect for Pimp C's daughter, Chinara, he was going to keep those specific details to himself. But the message was clear. Orlando knows considerably more than he has ever been willing to say on record, and many people believe that's precisely why he has also held back when it comes to speaking openly about Kathy White and her alleged connection to Blue Ivy. He understands, perhaps better than most, what can happen to people who know too much and decide to talk. Reactions to all of this have been strong. Some viewers have stated outright that Kathy White was killed and Blue Ivy is her biological child. Others have taken a more measured position, suggesting that as Blue Ivy grows older, these are questions she may eventually feel compelled to explore for herself. So now the question is yours to answer. What do you make of Orlando's claims about the true identity of Blue Ivy's mother? And do you believe there's any real substance to the allegations surrounding Beyoncé and Jay-Z's alleged involvement in Kathy White's death? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and make sure you check out the next video for more.